I strongly recommend that you watch the video until the end and you will see many interesting and unusual finds. Hi friend, you're on the KirTop channel. The book was returned to the English library. The building could be repaired with a penalty for all the deadlines, but of course no one will find the violator, and the book, published at the beginning of the 17th century, has now become a real diamond in the collection of books. The book now belongs to the Cathedral of Saints Peter and Paul in the English city of Sheffield. The temple was built in the 1280s and has long been a popular library among the locals. The library has long been gone, and the clergy now do not even know where it could be. The publication that was handed over to the temple is called Faith and Practice of the Church of England. Judging by the notes, it was issued back in 1708, but the reader turned out to be so unscrupulous that he never gave it up until the end of his life. As a result, the work spent centuries on the shelf in families of several generations until 3 centuries later it was decided to return it. The return was made by a resident of Wales. The book had been with her godmother for many years, and it was a dying wish to return it to the library. The golden treasure that became a worldwide sensation. The artifacts were discovered by a group of scientists from the Kazakh National University, named after Al-Farabi, led by archaeologist Professor Abdash Tolibayev. The find is an adornment of the horse harness of the ruler of the Saka society. A total of 850 gold items were found, including fragments of a parade horse team. According to scientists, the treasure belongs to the 5th-4th centuries BC. The treasure was not found in the mound itself. This indicates that the leader's grave was a place of worship. For a long time after the death of the leader, people came to the sacred place and left offerings to Aruas, the spirits of their ancestors. In this regard, we are unambiguously convinced that the ruler was buried here. All found products are made in animalistic style. According to the manufacturing technology, materials, forms, and plots, gold jewelry is preliminary dated to the 5th-4th centuries BC and is a monument of the art of the Tabagatai Sakas. We can say for sure that the ancient masters did not copy each other. Each master had his own handwriting. All found products are very elegant, made carefully. Most other horse ornaments were made from thin foil. There are also decorations made of thick gold leaf. The foil is also thicker. I have never seen such rich decorations for horse equipment. According to Abdash Tolibayev, these findings are just the beginning. Soon, archaeologists will begin to study small burial mounds. Sword of Stalingrad. Theoretically, the Soviet people owned this sword. Length 122 centimeters. Forged from Sheffield steel. On the blade is the inscription, "To the citizens of Stalingrad, strongest steel from King George VI as a token of deep admiration from the British people." The braid of the sword hilt is covered with 18-karat gold. The scabbard is crimson, made of red broadtail, or according to other sources, Saffiano leather. Made by order of the English King George VI in 1943 in honor of the victory of the Soviet people in the Battle of Stalingrad, solemnly presented to Supreme Commander Stalin by Prime Minister Churchill in the presence of President Roosevelt. According to legend, Stalin unexpectedly handed the sword to Voroshilov and he dropped it. According to another legend, Stalin himself dropped the sword. Today, the sword adorns the Museum of the Battle of Stalingrad in Volgograd, Russia. Giant emerald vessel. The real treasures include not only the jewelry of kings and noble ladies. Among them there are things of incredible beauty that cannot be worn or used in everyday life by a modern person. These items include an emerald vessel that once belonged to Emperor Ferdinand II. The emerald vessel is a fairly large, irregular-shaped container with a miniature domed lid. For decoration, gold enamel with small inclusions of processed green stone was used. The metallic pattern wraps up the vessel and gives it an even more solemn, rich appearance. An emerald with a size of 2,680 carats was needed to make this work of art. The giant was found in the Musa mines located in Colombia. Unfortunately, we cannot trace this moment. It remains only to assume that the emerald of unprecedented size was bought by Rudolf II himself. The stone is mentioned in the inventory of the Imperial Collection for 1616. Dutch sailing ship of the 17th century. Seabed explorers from the Baudouin organization, which studies shipwrecks from the First and Second World Wars in the Gulf of Finland, have discovered a beautifully preserved sailing vessel. It rests at a depth of 85 meters. According to experts, this is a Dutch trading flute and one of its earliest variants. A big plus of the flutes was also that they could be walked with a small crew. Judging by the unusually good state of preservation of the ship, it was lost after capsizing during a storm. The hull was practically not damaged during the shipwreck. However, later on the deck of the ship, from bow to stern, a fishing trawl went through, causing significant damage. Masts were demolished, deck boards and wooden sculptures that stood in the stern were partially torn out. Divers have discovered a sunken ship at the mouth of the Gulf of Finland. According to them, its good condition is explained by the low salt content in the water, its low temperature and darkness. Shipworms that damage wood do not live in such water, and the destruction process is very slow. The family of ships played a decisive role in turning the Dutch Republic into the economic superpower that it was in those years. They were very efficient ships in their days. By the way, almost all Dutch seafaring explorers used just such ships, both Willem Barents in the Arctic and those who went to Australia and Asia. 13 intact sarcophaguses with mummies. Archaeologists have made an interesting find in the Egyptian desert of Saqqara. In an 11-meter shaft, they found 13 sealed, intact sarcophaguses. The age of the finds is approximately 2,500 years. It is amazing that the mummies inside and the sarcophaguses themselves remained intact for thousands of years. There is a burial complex in Saqqara which contains several thousand sarcophaguses as well as the Pyramid of Djoser, but most of them have been plundered. That is why experts were struck by how the found sarcophaguses were preserved. According to the Egyptian Ministry of Tourism and Antiquities, the sarcophaguses found were stacked on top of each other at the bottom of the burial shaft. After examining the artifacts, which even preserved traces of paint, the experts concluded that the sarcophaguses remained sealed from the moment they were placed at the bottom of the mine. In addition, in the same mine, archaeologists discovered 3 more closed niches in which experts expect to find new sarcophaguses. Experts believe that Saqqara has been an active burial site for about 3,000 years. Various funerary objects have also been found in the mine, such as exquisite silver funerary masks, cartouches covered with hieroglyphs, and even mummified animal remains. This indicates that people with high social status were buried here. Underground Palace, 1001 columns. The oldest and second largest underground reservoir in Istanbul from Byzantine times is remarkable not only for its architecture, but also for many mysteries which will only become more numerous over time. The Felixina cistern is located in the Binbir district of the Fadi city district, 200 meters from the column of Constantine, 150 meters from another luxurious cistern of Theodosius II, and 100 meters from Sultanahmet Tram's top. True, the entrance to the reservoir is hardly noticeable and you can accidentally pass by. In the Ottoman Empire, the already inactive structure was called Binbir 1001 columns. In fact, initially there were 224 columns in the cistern and now there are 212 of them. When entering the room from the abundance of columns, it begins to seem that there are really a huge number of them, but it turns out that in Turkish the word Binbir simply means a large number in meaning 1,000 and, well, a lot. Of particular interest to researchers and travelers are the mysterious symbols on the columns, which are still clearly visible. Researchers anonymously claim that these are signs of masons who prepared columns for the cistern on the island of Marmara. True, supporters of the conspiracy theory are sure that these symbols belong to the Freemasons, who began to use the premises of an abandoned cistern for their meetings shortly after the fall of Constantinople. Great Tartaria. When a person hears the word Tartaria, he immediately has association with the ancient Greek Tartarus, the abyss located under the kingdom of the god of the dead, Hades. It was from here that the popular expression "fall into hell," that is, to disappear without a trace, came from. What is known today about the inhabitants of Tartaria? They were tall, white-skinned people with blonde hair and blue, green, brown, or gray eyes. They were called Rus or Slavs Aryans. They were good-natured and peaceful, but when the enemy attacked them, they fought bravely and mercilessly. These people were distinguished by high morality and respected the faith of their ancestors. The capital of Great Tartaria was located in Tobolsk, a city located not far from Tyumen, Russia. It was founded at the end of the 16th century and for 200 years was the main administrative, military, and political center of the Siberian lands. Ambassadors from all neighboring states came to Tobolsk, and even the red gates of Moscow were sent in its direction. Great Tartaria was the most ancient state. The famous traveler Marco Polo marked it on his map in the 13th century. Even then, the state surpassed the largest countries in the world in its territory. As you can see, Great Tartaria was a huge country that was known all over the world. On the maps of different centuries, the borders of the state occupied vast territories and reached the ocean shores. Many people today are perplexed about how the history of an entire empire was buried under the rubble of centuries. Why did the largest country in the world seem to have evaporated? Some researchers suggest that it disappeared from the face of the earth due to some internal political crisis or military conquest. But then where did the people who inhabited the state disappear to? And why in later historical books and encyclopedias the Great Tartaria was no longer remembered, as if it had never existed? There is a version that the country disappeared as a result of a catastrophe resembling a nuclear explosion in its scale, and this happened at the beginning of the 19th century. It was then that the territory of Siberia was engulfed by the largest fire that destroyed all the forests, and with them the Tartaria. In their place, a large number of lakes and depressions appeared. The deserted lands began to be populated only half a century later. Despite the fact that 200 years ago, mankind was not yet familiar with nuclear weapons, researchers believe that Great Tartaria disappeared as a result of a massive atomic bombardment. It is likely that Slavic Aryan Empire was destroyed by those who created it, that is, an extraterrestrial civilization. 70 million years ago, the day was longer. The fossilized mollusk has given new knowledge about what daylight was like 70 million years ago. Scientists have studied the growth bands in a fossil mollusk, found fossilized mollusks lived shortly before the extinction of the dinosaurs. This discovery allowed scientists to suggest that over 70 million years, the rotation of the Earth has slowed down by almost half an hour. This discovery sheds light not only on ancient climatic conditions, but also on the astronomical evolution of the Moon, whose ebb and flow slowly slowed down the Earth. Rudis are an extinct group of bivalves whose shells were quite thick and consisted of many layers. These layers grew in them, comparable to the rings in trees. The scientists used a laser to make a tiny hole in the mollusk, which allowed them to study the structure on a micron scale, something that can't be done with a conventional microscope. With the help of new technologies, they pinched off tiny particles of the mollusk. Scientists saw all the changes that occurred due to climatic conditions. Scientists also managed to find out that 70 million years ago, there were 372 days in a year instead of 365 days now, and the day was 23 minutes longer. This result gave astronomers insight into how the relationship between the planets Earth and the Moon developed. By the way, scientists have found that the Moon moves away from the Earth by 3.8 centimeters every year. So far, scientists have managed to study so thoroughly only one mollusk that has survived to this day in excellent condition. But they do not lose hope of finding similar specimens that will confirm and possibly supplement already known knowledge. Napoleon's sword. At the moment, a Corsican wields a sword. The total length is 100 centimeters. The blade is dotted with bizarre patterns and moreover is curved, which is especially convenient when cutting off hats. The sword accompanied Napoleon in the Battle of Marengo, after which the Austrian troops finally left Italy. After the victory, Napoleon gave the sword to his brother as a wedding present. The sword was kept in the Bonaparte family for several generations, and in 2007 it was sold at auction for $6.5 million. If you want to be up to date of the latest archaeological finds of our time, then subscribe to our channel and click on the bell. Thanks for the views, bye everyone!